GSmaniamsmart here today on a brand new video for Gaming with GS, and yes, I am still alive. I'm back though. I know it's been a week since my last upload on this channel, and I apologize for that. It's just been a crazy week. I had a huge project for university due this week, and then I also had midterms to take for university this week, or I should say last week because the week is already over. And then my girlfriend also got a new job, so I had to wrap my head around that and get that whole thing situated too. So it's been pretty crazy, and on top of that, I have my other job still, so it's been a lot going on, and I haven't even been able to log on to Guild Wars 2. But today we're gonna sort of summarize some of the things that have gone into the game. We did get a patch. It wasn't a very big patch. I'll go into it a bit more in the video later on. But we didn't get a very big patch. The PvP season did start, so season 6 of PvP is in game. But I honestly haven't even had the chance to play much of it. I played 3 PvP matches last night, and I won all 3 of them. So I've only played 3 PvP matches since the season started. So I've won 3 out of 3 so far in my placement matches. So I'm happy about that. But I just haven't been on the game a lot. I haven't done much. The last thing I did on the game was finish the Traherne Memorial Quest, which is basically also the last video I did too. So apologies for the delay there. Fortunately though, my spring break is here, so I'm planning to make quite a few videos for this coming up week. I have like 3 or 4 videos planned already. I have one already half done recording, and I'll be editing that soon. So more videos to come, and for those of you who are watching this one, thank you. A lot of times when I go on these long, well, I wouldn't say long, but to me, I consider these long breaks because a week with no uploads is kind of long. A lot of times when I don't upload for a week, I find myself coming back to the channel kind of scared, being like, oh wow, no one's going to watch my videos anymore, no one's going to care anymore because I haven't uploaded for the whole week. But those of you who are watching right now, thank you. It really means a lot, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you see this channel valuable. I'm glad you find it entertaining and see it as a resource. So that's always makes me a bit happier after a while not producing a video. So this video, we're going to go over all the new things that came into the game and point you in a few directions, especially for new players, and maybe if you're someone that hasn't done a lot of Heart of Thorn stuff. I found some really interesting things on Reddit last night that I want to share with you. I found a lot of things from developers, also on the forums, about sigils that I want to talk about. So we'll talk a little about a lot of different things in this video. Consider this like a summary video of everything that's been happening the last week. Maybe if this video goes well and people like this type of video, we'll do this type of community spotlight summary type of thing every 2 weeks or so. But yeah, it's kind of what this video is going to be about. So first of all, patches are going to come every Wednesday now, and that's actually why we got a patch this last Wednesday where PvP season started, and it's mainly because that snowstorm that happened. They're now going to be releasing all patches on Wednesday and not Tuesday anymore. So that's one note that I want to throw out there. The other thing is that there is an API page on the Guild Wars 2 wiki for all the cats currently in game. And the reason why I think this is such huge news is because I know for myself and a lot of you, we don't have all the cats in our home instance yet. And if you're a completionist like I am, sort of, then you might want to get all the cats. Well, now on the wiki, on the Guild Wars 2 wiki, there's a page that shows you how many cats there are, how to get each of these cats, where to find them, and it helps you gather all the cats in the game so you can bring them to your home. And it's a really cool page that was just recently found, and I'll leave the link to that in the description. So if you're someone who's missing a bunch of cats, or if you're someone that's missing a few cats and you've been wanting to get them, look at the wiki page. It's a huge list there. It's very self-explanatory. It's very well done. It even tells you what to feed them and what items you need, and it gives you pictures of the spots in the map where they are. Really cool. So if you're interested in that, go and check the link out in the description. The other big news that I also found is that the poll that I discussed in, I think 2 videos ago, maybe it was last video, there was a poll that I told you guys about profession locking for PvP. So very similar to some MOBA games where you basically lock your champion before you go into the game. They were thinking of doing that for Guild Wars 2 as well, locking your profession before you go into a queue. And that basically failed. Not enough people voted. In fact, it did not pass because 53% of people did not like it 47% of people did like it. So it's nice to see that Arena is actually, using these polls to put content into the game that people want, and to avoid putting content into the game that people don't want. So just thought I'd give you an update on that. If you were someone who did vote for that, well, the result is now here. They're not going to add professional locking into the game. Now, I'm fine with that change, mainly because there are a lot of times you may want to change professions if you don't like the team that you have, if you don't like the team you're going against, but also because queue times are supposed to be shorter. If they would have implemented this, queue times have been longer, so short queue times, I'm all for. And while we're on the topic of PvP, a lot of people are mad this season. A lot of people are mad that PvP this season just isn't popular. Some people are saying PvP is a wasteland this season 6. And why might you think that? Take a quick wonder of why you might think last season PvP was so popular and this season PvP isn't as popular. Did you guess Ascended Gear? Because if you guessed Ascended Gear, that's right. Last season PvP offered Ascended Gear that was super cheap to get, very easy to get. This time around, they changed the way you get that Ascended Gear from PvP vendors. They changed the way you get the currencies. They forced you to craft stuff for the Ascended Gear before you didn't even need to craft. And I've seen a lot of different opinions on this. Some people are saying it's the worst change ever. Some people are saying that it's cheating other people who got it for free. Some people hate the change. Other people are saying that this is balancing the system, that this is how it's supposed to be because PvP gear, because Ascended Gear shouldn't be so easy to get. A lot of different opinions, but that's why PvP isn't as popular this season anymore, because last season, everybody from World vs. World, PvE, raiding, PvP, everyone played PvP because you had an easy way to get Ascended Gear. This time around, you require crafting, you require more items. It's harder to get currency. You get less currencies for each chest you unlock. So that's kind of why people aren't playing as much PvP anymore. And my opinion on this is, my friend thinks it's a terrible change because now it requires so much more effort to get it. But personally, I think the change needed to be made. I mean, you have to balance your game. If there's a way to get Ascended Gear, an easy way, everyone's gonna do it. No one's gonna craft Ascended Gear anymore. No one's gonna do raids for Ascended Gear anymore. No one's gonna do fractals for Ascended Gear anymore. So a lot of that content is devalued. Now, while I love that I got cheap Ascended Gear, and while I'm sure a lot of people will love the fact that they could get Ascended Gear very cheaply, you have to admit to yourself that in a way it's damaging the game because it's devaluing some other game modes, and it's giving you a free way to get easy Ascended Gear when Ascended Gear is something you should be working for. And quite frankly, like I said in my past videos, if you were playing last season PvP, you could have lost all of your matches and eventually gotten enough currencies to get your Ascended Gear. So I feel like the change needed to be made, but I feel like it kind of is Arena's fault because they should have done more testing on it. They should have seen that this was too easy of a way to get Ascended Gear, and that's why a lot of people are mad now, because it was very premature to put something like that into the game without really fully thinking of, how people would react to it. If there's a cheap way to get something, and if it's an easy way to get something, everyone's gonna do it. No one's gonna sit there and say, oh, I'm not gonna do it because it's not balancing. No one's gonna do that. People are gonna do it because it's easy, so they'll do it. So I feel like some more thought needs to be put into some things that go into the game, and this could have been avoided, and then no one will be saying that PvP is a wasteland, because quite frankly, I haven't noticed much of a difference in queue times. So I don't know what the hell people are saying. I guess people are just really mad that Ascended Gear is now somewhat more challenging to get in PvP than it was prior to the recent, before last patch where they changed the way PvP gear is attained from the PvP system. Another thing I want to touch on is leather prices. Now, we did make a video and we talked a lot about the leather farm in Lake Doric, and this was supposed to be something that would fix the leather market and lower prices for tier 5 and tier 6 leather. However, leather prices have basically gone back up. They've gone back up to the way they were before the patch even came out for leather farm. Now, why this is happening, I honestly couldn't even tell you why, because I haven't studied the market too much. But if I had to take a wild guess, it's that when the leather farm first came out, a lot of people heard about it. a lot of people heard about it, they went to go and do it, and they sold the leather they got. It was a good way to make money. It was a good way to make some gold. But now it's been a while, people aren't doing the leather farm much anymore. Some people are still, but other people aren't anymore. So the supply of leather going into the market from that farm is getting less and less, you know, as the days progress. The other thing could be that a lot of people are getting their leather from the leather farm and no one's really selling it. So there's no supply going into the market either, because people who need leather, they'll get the leather from the leather farm. They won't buy it off the market. So since there's no supply going into the market, prices will stay high because no one's selling, because everyone's getting their leather from the leather farm, which could potentially mean that no one's buying either, but it's more so that no one's selling anymore. So my opinion to this is that I think they need to find a way to fix this issue another way than just a farm. Because while farms are good, and while certainly farms did lower the price of black diamonds with Auric Basin. I remember when black diamonds were like 2-3 gold per black diamond, and once the Auric Basin multi-loot came around, black diamonds just went super low in price. Like, they went really low in price. So I feel like unless they bring something into the game like Auric Basin multi-loot, leather farm, and the leather prices will basically stay the same. I think the best fix they can do is just to lower the amount of materials that are needed. That would be the best fix, because they changed the way recipes worked, and we required more leather with the change they made a year or two ago. Everyone needed a lot more leather, and that's why prices went so much higher. If they would revert back to that change where you wouldn't need as much leather, unless of course you're a leather worker, then you'll need a lot of leather. But if you're not a leather worker, then you shouldn't need that much leather. So if they go back to the old system, the way Ascended materials worked and the way the Ascended recipes work, I think leather prices will go back down. So that's basically all I can tell you. I don't really have any other solution. I just think they should fix the root of the problem and not just band-aid it. And a lot of people have had that same opinion. The root of the problem is that people need so much leather, and that's the root of the problem. So that's the story with that. If you have any opinions of that, would love to hear in the comments section. Another thing we found out is that they're going to be reworking sigils, and God, am I happy for this. And a lot of people are very happy for this too, because sigils have been in a weird spot in the game. Some people don't care at all for them, and some people hate sigils. Other people think that there are some very good sigils in the game. Personally, I think it's a mixture for me. There are a lot of really good sigils in the game, and there are also a lot of really bad sigils in the game. Some sigils that no one even uses anymore. I feel like this sigil system needed to be reworked a long time ago, and they're finally doing it. For one, they're trying to make sigils more of an active style of gameplay rather than a passive style of gameplay. They're removing some of the passive sigils, like Sigil of Force, and bringing more active sigils into the game, where the effect will basically take effect on proc, such as on a critical hit, such as on a weapon swap, things like that. On a proc, on something that you do specifically, a sigil will have an effect. And personally, I like these type of sigils because you have some type of assurance and you have some type of visual feedback that your sigil is working. One of my favorite sigils is the one where you do a lightning strike or a flame blast on, I think it's a critical hit or a weapon swap, I can't remember. But with that sigil, you get visual feedback that, hey, this is coming from my sigil. This is not coming from a skill, but it's my sigil at work. And for a lot of sigils, they're very passive, and they sort of make sigils a bit lackluster because, yes, you have them on your gear, but you never really realize they're doing anything. So I feel like sigils can be improved with more visual feedback to the players, and that's what they're kind of doing. They're sort of doing that by making sigil effects have more of a requirement. Some of the sigils they're going to put into the game are having a boost in damage, but only if the enemy is CC'd or movement impaired. That's one they're going to put into the game. Another one is boon stripping, basically taking away 2 boons on weapon swap, which is also a nice little mechanic because every time you weapon swap, you could be stripping boons. Once again, that's sort of more engaging with the player rather than just having a passive sigil that sort of just works in the background. So I like that. And a lot of these sigil changes will make sigils more satisfying and a lot more fun to play around with. The only criticism I have, I think, is that a lot of these sigils are going to have 18-second cooldowns compared to 9-second cooldown, which is what a lot of sigils currently have. Now, why they're doing this, I really don't know. I feel like 9-second cooldown was good enough because a lot of professions do swap weapons every 9 seconds, especially elementalists who switch attunements every 9 seconds. Obviously, you know, warriors can switch a lot faster, but the point is that when you would have a sigil that's set, 9 seconds cooldown, on average, every time you swap attunements or swap weapons, you would know that your sigil's at work. So why they're changing it to 18 seconds, I really don't know why. Maybe it's because they want you to pay a bit more attention to your cooldowns and your sigil cooldowns, but I feel like it's a bit too much to keep track of, and I feel like it's a bit ambiguous. Like, how are you really gonna know if your sigil took effect within those 18 seconds, then, counting the next 18 seconds? I feel like it's a bit too much to keep track of, and I feel like it's a bit difficult to decide when and when not your sigil can proc or not. So, maybe we'll see. Maybe those sigils that have that 18-second cooldown, you'll get more of a visual feed. You'll get more visual feedback, which you'll be able to recognize. Okay, my sigil just procced, so next 18 seconds it'll proc again. But just thought I'd make you aware that sigils are being reworked, and we will be getting new sigils, and they will be removing sigils from the game very soon. Another feature coming into the game soon is an update to the account wallet. Thank God. Because the amount of currencies we currently have in the game are huge. We have map currencies, we have fractal currencies, we have raid currencies, we have so many currencies in the game. And if your bank isn't filled to the max yet with currencies, then your bags are probably taking a hit for it. Well, apparently, one of the developers came on Reddit and actually gave an update on this. And it was actually Lindsay Murdoch who said that she's basically been having this as a side project. She's been trying to update the account wallet as a side project whenever she has free time. And it's coming soon. That's basically what the short story is, that she's trying to work on it, but she's been very busy. But her goal is to try and get this account wallet update into the game as soon as possible. So I felt like it was very genuine and transparent for her to come onto Reddit and explain that this is a side project of hers and that she just hasn't had much time, and she's been wanting to put it into the game, but she hasn't been able to do it yet, and that she has to pass it through a bunch of other people on the team as well. So very appreciative towards that, very appreciative towards her work, and I'm glad to see that very soon we'll be getting an account wallet update, because we desperately need it. There's so many currencies in my bags right now. I wish I had more bank space. I wish I could just throw them all into the account wallet somehow, because that really needs to happen. Ever since Heart of Thorns came out, we've had crowbars, we've had exalted keys, so many currencies that have just been forced to sit in our inventory because if you have in your bank, so it's a whole hassle there. I'm just glad that we'll get an update very soon. When it's coming out, no one has a date yet. No one knows when, but at least we have an update that this is still being worked on actively, and they'll try to get into the game as soon as possible. It's also worth mentioning that this month, March, ArenaNet is having several sales every day through March 31st. And if you're interested in some special items, they'll have a lot of things on discount, and they might be bringing back old items. So keep your eye on the gem store, because every day they'll have deals going on to the gem store, price reductions, sales going on, all for March throughout the entire month. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out. And while we're on the topic of gem store, the most recent patch that came out this Wednesday, or should I say last Wednesday, a few days ago, you know what most of the content was? Just gem store stuff. Not really much else. I mean, it was kind of a disappointing patch. I thought they would have put a bit more into it. PvP Season 6 came. That's about it. There's this whole thing with Epidemic going on as well, how they're nerfing Necromancer's skill Epidemic for World vs. World because it's super overpowered. If you're unaware about this, Epidemic is a skill that basically, if you target someone and they have a ton of conditions on them, Epidemic will get those conditions and copy them to everyone in the area. It's an AoE skill. So if somebody has, bleeding, cripple, blind, poison, all those conditions, on one person, if you use Epidemic, all those conditions go on everyone else around as well. And it's a really broken skill in World vs. World, but it's also very effective in certain PvE instances. So there's been a huge discussion on Epidemic and how they're trying to fix that skill and how they're apparently changing it for World vs. World. That's a huge thing. That's a huge discussion that's been happening in the community as well. So if you're on Necromancer, be aware they might be changing Epidemic in the future, and I think in the most recent patch they've even changed it for World vs. World. Because apparently from now on, the ability no longer has an effect on structures or targets with resistance. How they're going to move forward with this, I have no idea how, but just keep your eyes open for that, I guess. Another thing I want to talk about is DPS meters. Now, in a past video, I have discussed that ArenaNet's stance on DPS meters is that it's okay to do as long as you do it legally and the correct way. A recent update to a Guild Wars 2 add-on called BDGM, version 2 is out now, and despite my opinion on DPS meters, I think DPS meters is a toxic way to go about raiding, mainly because I know a lot of people in raids are going to look at the DPS meter and they're going to target people and say, you're not doing too much DPS, get out of my group. I know that happens. I've seen stories of it happening, and I know DPS meters is a subject that a lot of people are for and a lot of people are against. But I can't help but say this tool is amazing. It gives you so much information on boon uptime, on your own DPS and your party's DPS. It's a very versatile tool, and it's a very informative tool to give you a lot of information on your party and on your own. Now, if you're with an open-minded raid group, if you're playing with a group of friends that's very open-minded and wants to improve their skills and everyone's trying to work together, then this is an amazing tool because it can really give you a lot of information and help you understand of why maybe you're not getting the raid done. Now, that's the only reason why I'm sharing this tool, because I think it's a really well done tool and it gives you a lot of good information. So I'll leave the link to the thread on Reddit in the description so you can take a look at that tool. I think it's really well done. I think it may clutter your screen a bit if you have too much of it open, especially if you're playing on a low resolution screen. But other than that, I think it's a great tool and it gives you a lot of information about your party and about your own character that no other tool currently gives, or you may have to install multiple tools to get the same amount of information this one tool gives you alone. And one last piece of news I want to bring out, and not really a piece of news, but something that I found as well that was very interesting. If you're someone that is new to the game, if you're someone that just started Heart of Thorns, just came to level 80, or if you're someone that's been playing for a while, but you hate the fact that you have to go through each map and collect all the hero points to level up your specialization, if you hate the fact that you can't find any mastery points for Heart of Thorns, if you have a hard time uncovering all the Heart of Thorns maps for all of your characters, well, there apparently is a group of people that do a little event every Sunday where they clear the entire Heart of Thorns area as a group. They get like 40 mastery points. They do, I think, close to all of the hero challenges. It's like a hero point train. They get all the map uncovered. So if you're interested in that, and you're someone who just dreads the Heart of Thorns maps and you feel like you're having a hard time completing them, so if you're interested now, go and leave the link to the website in the description, and you can go and check that out. I personally have not gone to one of these events, so I can't really tell you if it's worth. I can't really tell you how successful it is, but on paper here and just by reading here, it seems like a really cool idea, and it may be worth checking out if you're someone that needs this type of content for your character if you haven't completed it yet. And lastly, I want to talk about what's coming next into Guild Wars 2. Any idea what's coming next? Anyone want to take a guess of what's next on the plate for Guild Wars 2? Well, it should be Super Adventure Box. That should be coming in April, usually around April 1st. They do like April Fool's patch notes, and they also then bring Super Adventure Box. So it's less than 30 days away. I think we have maybe 20-something days to go until the next Super Adventure Box release comes into the game, and whether they'll be releasing a World 3, that is yet to be decided and yet to be told. No one knows yet if World 3 will be coming to the game. I would love to see World 3 though, because I've already completed World 1 and World 2, and a lot of you have completed those worlds as well. We even have guides on a lot of the worlds on the channel. from a couple years back, or maybe last year. I can't remember when I did them, but I have guides on the channel about Super Adventure Box. So if they implement a World 3, if they release a new world, that would be really awesome. And I think a lot of people would be happy about that. But the most recent word that we got was that they're not going to be making a World 3. So I won't be surprised if we get the exact same content that we got last year. And I won't be surprised if they don't make a World 3. But we can hope and we can dream. Maybe they'll make one. And when they do, it'll be here and we can play it. So hopefully that comes this year. But I highly doubt it. And no one's really been talking about it either. So I don't think we'll be getting it. But I am happy to see Super Adventure Box back, because that is a very fun event. And if you have not played Super Adventure Box, I think you'll enjoy it a lot too. I think if it's your first time playing the event, you'll have a lot of fun. And there's a lot to do. Plenty of rewards to come. I'm sure they'll add new rewards as well. And plenty of achievements as well. And it can be very challenging as well to complete on some of the harder difficulties to complete some of the worlds. But really cool idea for Guild Wars 2. And it's coming back in April. So very soon. And that's pretty much everything else I have to cover today. That's pretty much everything I uncovered from my look around the forums and Reddit and YouTube, and gathering all this information to keep you up to date with everything and to keep myself up to date. Soon we will have another Traveler's Tale coming out. I also have a potential new gold trick coming out, and I'm also gonna try. I've said this a while ago several times, but I really am going to try to finish the Chuka and Champwat legendary short bow. It's just a matter of collecting all that wood. I think I have a ton of wood in my bank, and I've refined a ton of wood too, so I might have enough. And if I have enough, we can finally continue that little series that we had that's been on delay for a while. But several videos coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go and subscribe. I'd love to have you on board playing for the Guild Wars 2 content on the channel, playing more Guild Wars 2 content to come in the future as well. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to donate $1 to my Patreon page, you can do so as well. The link is in the top right corner of the screen. You can click that and I'll bring you to the page. And if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about, any opinions about anything we talked about today, go ahead and leave it in the comments section down below. I'll be down there reading your comments and answering them as well as usual. And I think that's pretty much it. If you want to check out the tutorials channel, the vlogging channel, music channel, the advice channel, links in the description as well as in the end screen. And I'll talk to you guys next time. This is GSmaniamsmart. I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.